Hey up guys, S-Man back at it again with a brand new Horizons review. We're gonna do two in this one because I finally realized how behind I am. And because these are both sort of filler episodes. The first episode starts off with the Rising Voltackers arriving to where Rayquaza has left them, but they lost sight of Rayquaza. So they head into town to investigate basically where exactly Laqua could be because they realize they are in the general facility. They run into his dad and his kid who are arguing over something, and it's arguing over Black Rayquaza flying over the village and that being a sort of like bad omen to the people of the village. I think this whole subplot was stupid. I didn't like this part of the episode. I kind of thought it would have been cool if we just had the kids exploring the town and learning like the lore behind Rockua and like what happened deep down with Lucius and all of that, which Friede does, but the rest of the kids just like hang out with this little kid in his Noibat, and like they get stuck in a cave and fight a bunch of Vibrava. I didn't like this part of the episode. There is one small bit I liked, and it is when the kids just like, instead of using the regular Pokemon, they send out Kilowattrel, Tinkatink, and Hatterum. I don't even know if there's like a legit reason why they sent them out, and they're finally using their other Pokemon. And not only that, they've been doing what I've been ranting about Hatterum doing for the last couple episodes. If any of the Pokemon gets hit, use Heal Pose, which she did. That's the only likable thing about that half of the episode. While the other, or the little, it's actually a fourth of the episode because half of this episode is them in town with these like this family. The other half is them climbing the mountain. But the Friede part was definitely interesting with the old grandma talking about when she was free, she witnessed the event of Lucius and Gibeon's little quarrel. She reveals that in the days following the whole Laqua accident, Rayquaza flew up into the sky, and after that, they lost the sunlight for a few days. But it suddenly came back along the same time that Gibeon showed up in town, where that girl's own family nursed him back to health. And this also leads into a later reveal in the episode, where, while scaling the mountain, Liko looks off to see a mysterious building where it's revealed the Explorer's HQ. And I think that's really interesting, and especially because what we see next episode makes so much sense, like why they wanted the pendant and like really why they just didn't like if they wanted Requiem, why they didn't just rush to get Requiem if they lived right next door. Because that was my first fault, because we see Agate basically like show up there, so my first fault was really like, oh, if they lived right next to Rocky or Rukua, why didn't they just go visit it? But they basically explain next episode. But yeah, with some after really just getting a little bit of information from the town, the big key that helps them realize where Rukua is what the grandma tells Friede. The grandma tells Friede that Gibeon said to have been an explorer and researcher who came from a place where heaven and earth met at the top of the mountain. It's basically where the clouds are covering the top of the mountain. So the Rising Voltackers have to scale the mountain. We see the kids and Friede head off while the rest stay with the ship because they can't take the ship. That's when we get a little montage of them climbing the mountain and using all the hero Pokemon. And I love the jokes I was seeing on Twitter weeks ago when this episode came out. Yep, I'm that behind. About them all being used as HM slaves. But yeah, I loved seeing basically the hero Pokemon in action. Little detail I liked was the teamwork between Quivor and Lapras. It represents their little rivalry. And I also, another thing that just like, it bugs me a little bit. They could have just easily flew up the mountain. Friede has Charizard, Roy has Kilowattrel, and Liko could have used the Moltres for her, and they could have easily flew up the mountain, making this whole episode pointless. But I'll give this episode a 5 out of 10. I really like the part with the grandma and just seeing them use the hero Pokemon to explore. And Liko goes off saying, oh, what if this is how Lucius and Ristle and Gibeon got up the mountain? Putting more parallels between Liko, Roy, Dot, and the original Explorers. But my question is, who would be the traitor? Would it be Dot? But yeah, jokes aside, 5 out of 10. Moving on to the next episode, which is a lot more interesting. They arrive in Laqua, where Rayquaza appears, basically welcoming them and like clearing the like clouds that blocked off the area. That's when Roy recalls Rayquaza, and Roy's all happy because this is a sign of Rayquaza showing them more trust. But yeah, basically, the first half of this episode is the Rising Bolt Tacklers exploring Rock. And I actually really like these scenes because it just shows like them slowly learning about Rockua. They like walk around, see a bunch of like Pokemon who normally wouldn't be together, hanging out, some unique unnatural berries. And I just like that whole basically explorer and adventurer aspect and professor aspect where Friede is analyzing basically what Rockua is and comparing it to previous notes. They find Pokemon who are enemies hanging out together, Pokemon who would normally be like short-tempered and just like being all chill with each other, and a more just like helpful, friendly environment which basically goes off the stories they heard from the past and the notes they had. And another really cool detail I like is Dot taking the picture of all the evolutions just running around playing and said, "Oh, I gotta send this to Penny later." Just shows their little friendship, and I wish we saw more. But yeah, we're getting like a lot of like chill scenes where Rising Bolt Tacklers are watching a bunch of Pokemon do a bunch of cool things. Like we see a bunch of legendaries like just chilling out, and they're all just amazed by all this and these like rare and like strong Pokemon. But the whole time, Friede is a little worried, being like, "Hey, this is nothing like what Ristle told us." Remember what Ristle said? She said that basically this whole place was going to shit during the Rockua incident. But yeah. Also, another science fact. I love the fact that they explain why they can wear their regular clothes instead of like having to wear jackets because they're on a mountain. Where it's revealed that although it's not a volcano, like was previously said in I think last episode, someone said that the mountain they live on isn't a volcano because of the way like the atmosphere and like air works. Basically, this whole area is like heated up from the ground, which is something I legit just learned in my biology class the other day about how really the sunlight and like temperature works. It's more just like reflecting off the ground, and this area has like seems to have like a better heat absorption, I guess. I don't really know. I was kind of confused with that stuff. But yeah, with Friede being worried, they head into the forest. They see like and it's more like dark, decrepit forest. They eventually get out, and it's nighttime. So Friede says, let's take a rest here and continue back tomorrow." Much to all the kids' like disappointment because they wanted to continue. That's where we actually get a really nice scene that just shows, hey, Horizons is about to end, guys. Except for that poster that got leaked the day I recorded this that shows Arc 5. But yeah. The Rising Bolt Tackler, or Friede's basically doing some studying. On all the books on Rockua that Liko's grandmother gave him. While all their Pokemon are chilling, Liko, Roy, Dot look up into the stars and talk about their journey together. Liko's happy to have been able to basically experience all these new places. She was able to go to Kanto, Galar, Johto, Paldea, or explore the whole of Paldea and be with her friends. And along with that, making new friends, where we get flashes of all basically the side characters. We see Anne, we see the Paldea cast, Kabu. I think we see Kabu's gym assistant. We see Perrin, Briar. We see a Carmine for some reason, even though none of them interacted with her except for Friede. And then we get like little montages of like their journeys. We see Liko was happy to be able to bond with all of her Pokemon and help them grow. Same thing with Roy. And we actually get a nice little speech from Roy. Roy talks about when he was like a little kid, he was always like lonely. But like one thing that really like egged him on was the stories of the ancient adventurer Lucius and the hopes that he can eventually become like Lucius. And he was able to basically fulfill his goal. He caught their Rayquaza, and he was able to go on a journey with his two friends like Lucius to find Rockua. And that just like clicks in their heads where it's like, hey, this could be the end of our journey. And that actually makes Liko worry a little bit, because she's like, oh, this whole time we've been trying to take Terrapagos to Rakua. What if Terrapagos wants to leave us? But that's when Roy and Dot basically reassure her, hey, Terrapagos chose you. Why would Terrapagos leave? But, yeah. With that, they go to bed, and the next day arrives, where they uncover the dome that Terrapagos blocked off all the rock room with. Terrapagos and Liko team up, and it basically goes into its battle form and destroys the barrier, but it took out too much energy, so Liko has to recall it. So Friede tells the kids to stay on point while he goes to a little bit ahead to investigate, make sure it's all fine. That's when he gets attacked by Spinel, and the kids get attacked by the rest of the explorers. And that's where the episode ends. I gotta say, compared to the last episode, I really liked this one. I like the slow uncovering of what's going on in Rakua, and them just basically putting together how the environment works, the Pokemon in it. I liked seeing the research aspect of this whole thing, which we wouldn't have gotten with a character like Hay, because Ash likes to run in. Meanwhile, Liko, not only just Friede is here and he's a professor, but not only that, but we also have Liko, who is somebody who basically pays attention to her surroundings and pays attention between the actions and feelings of Pokemon, and Dot, who is basically just, I'm assuming she is very informed on Pokemon and kind of wants to be a researcher, and Roy just thinks it's all cool. And I also really like the shift to them basically talking about their journey, and it's a natural way to put a flashback, and the flashbacks didn't really feel too imposing on the episode. It felt like a natural thing. Hey, the night before something big, something our whole journey together has been leading to, we're just discussing the fun times we've had and everything that's happened to us. And it really fits with because the whole goal of Horizon so far has been to reach Rakua, and it just makes a lot of sense that these kids are talking about it. But it's on the last day is before the last day is of school, you and your friends are just talking about all the good times you had during the year. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about the episode. One little complaint I have is, if they put up the barrier for a reason, why would they take it down? I just feel that's unnecessary. But also, hold on, I didn't tease this earlier. I just remembered while recording. I didn't script it. I don't script these reviews. It makes a lot of sense that the second they took down the barrier, that's when the explorers appeared. Because how would the explorers, even though the explorers basically they live right beside Rakua, how would they be able to access the rock realm without Terrapagos? So that makes sense why they wanted the pendant so bad, and why after a while they decided, hey, the pendant ain't that important. The hero Pokemon are more important, or we need to watch over the Rising Volt attackers that they captured all the hero Pokemon, so they can find Rakua on their own, because they're gonna unleash the Rock Realm. And that made a lot of sense, and it probably was Spinel's plan, which is why he is my goat. But yeah, not to drag this on any longer than it needs to be, this episode, I give this one an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, that's really all I gotta say. I hope you guys like this video. Subscribe for more content like this in the future. We still got a few more Horizons episodes ahead of ourselves. Along with that, we have really big, exciting news coming soon. But yeah, hope you guys like this video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. S-Man, signing off.